I am Bill Smith. I am an alcoholic. I'm sober through the grace of God and the fellowship of this program. And Rick and I, of all people, we know there's a God because we just drove down from Las Vegas with Bob Darrell. Boy, he talks a lot better than he drives, I can tell you that. I'll tell you another story about him and I years ago, but I won't get into that. What I want to do is I really want to welcome the new people, and maybe you're here for 2 or 3 years and you still got this big hole in your gut like I had. I'd like to welcome you to and just say, stay here, keep doing this deal, and you'll transfer the head to the heart. Sometimes that's a long trip for some of us. For me, it was a long, long trip, a lot of years to get it to come from here to here because I never understood alcoholism. And you know, in a room this size, if I can make a difference in 2 or 3 people's lives, one person's life, it would be worth the trip. Because I hope someday one of you guys will make a difference in my daughter. So I can help your kids, I just can't help mine, you know. And so my sponsor said, go help other people's kids, and somebody else send somebody to help your kid. And that's what we do here, you know. And so when I look at people in detox and stuff, I don't look at it like just people. There's somebody's son, there's somebody's daughter, somebody's brother, and that's what we are here. You know, we're not just faces. We're people who live every day with the most deadliest disease on the face of the earth, and I didn't understand that. And everybody don't have what I have, you know, and my story's a little bit different than some people's. You know, I was raised right. I really was. I just turned left, you know. I got 3 brothers that, you know, that just excelled at school and everything. And my mom, she used to think it was funny. I didn't. She'd go, I got 3 sons and him, you know, and I always felt out of place. And, you know, the big book talks about a guy who does pretty good if he don't drink, and I do. I do pretty good if I don't drink. You know, I go to work. I mean, things are pretty good for me, really are. You know, I come out of the chute a little bit irritable and restless and discontent. I've always been like that, you know, and I've been wound tight most of my life. And after 28 years in AA, I'm still wound sort of tight. But I don't know, I was like 15 or 16, something like that. I must have been 16 because I was driving this little car, and I was at this bootlegger's house. I'm from North Carolina. And this guy had a daughter there, and she had what I wanted. And I was willing to go to any lengths to get it except talk to her. And I was standing over there staring like I do, you know, and I wonder if she'd like to get lucky. And I don't know, somebody handed me a glass of that white whiskey, and you know, I heard a guy from the podium say on his first drink that he could feel the back of his hair stand up and his fingernail grow and all that stuff. And I'm thinking, you ought to drink white whiskey. It don't do that. But what happened was, in a period of time, 20 minutes or whatever it was, for the first time in my life, my skin fit. I was okay. And now whatever's in that glass was great, because about 20 minutes later she was in my car, so whatever's in there I needed. And but I didn't know that I had alcoholism, and I didn't know that was part of it. Silkworth talks about that we drink for cause and effect, and I was just in North Carolina, and we did a Silkworth thing with another friend, and he said that's what makes the difference, and that is part of it. But there's more to alcoholism than that. There's a lot more to it now. What Silkworth is talking about is an allergy to the body, and that's part of alcoholism, and I didn't know that. You know, once I pick up a drink, I heard a guy say, I don't know what's going to happen. I know exactly what's going to happen when I pick up a drink. I'm going to have another drink. You know, and I get to where I'm dancing, I'm having a really good time. You know what I mean? I am cooking. I'm out there just boogalooing and mashed potato and do it all. You know, I never took a dance lesson in my life, but I can dance when I'm drunk, boy. I mean, I can get it on, you know. And then I do something that other people don't do, right? They'll just keep dancing, have a drink. No, I'm having fun. I'll have another one, you know. And the same guy, and what I do is I drink right on past that. And later on I'm passed out because I can't stop it. You know, I get her picked out, and, you know, I got the white picket fence all built and 2 little kids running around. I don't know her name yet, but I got it all planned up here in my head, you know, and And I drank right past it, and I didn't understand that. And I had that from the start. Once I pick up a drink, I cannot control how much I drink. And Silkworth says that there's all different types of manic depressive. There's a guy that does really good, when he doesn't drink. But we all have one thing in common. And this puts us in a different entity, he says. And that's that once he picks it up, this phenomenal craving develops, and he cannot control how much he drinks. And I never tried to quit drinking. I just joined the Navy to see the world and became a drunk, just the way it is. You can do a lot. I'm not going to give you a long thing. I'm going to tell you some of the things. But when I was in the Navy, I was in Long Beach, California. I still remember this, and it's always, I don't know why this is so important to me, but every time I talk, I think of this. Because I was like 19 years old, and you have to be 21 to drink in California, but they never asked me how old I was. I don't know if I looked like I needed a drink or just, I didn't go in to bother anybody anyway. I went in to drink. I bothered people after I got drunk, but at first, I just go in to drink. I drink. There was a lady that worked with me in Las Vegas, and she said, him and I drank in the same bar. He never said hello to me. I always intended to say hello to her because she was really a good-looking gal. But when I'd get ready to say hello, I was so drunk that I couldn't get from my stool to hers, so I never got it on. But we drank in the same place, me and Fran, and I was in Long Beach, and there used to be an old thing down there called the Pike. I don't even know if it's there anymore or not, but, that's where I hung out up at that Saratoga bar, and really nice place. And I got too drunk to go back to the ship, so I passed out in that park across the street, and I woke up, and it's not like Las Vegas. The bars wouldn't open. And I was I'm 19 years old, and I'm standing outside that bar with all them old guys waiting for that bar open. You know what I mean? 35 and 40 years old. When you're 19, 40's old. 40's a kid now, but not then. And they're out there shaking like this, and we go inside, and I still remember it sort of like this, and I'm telling you the best I can remember. I would never try to lie from up here or try to impress you because I don't want to do that, because we die of this thing every day, and I know that. But I remember these guys in there, and I remember I just told that guy I had folded money. These guys most of them had change and a little bit of money, not much. And, I said, hit this shot glass 2 or 3 times with a short beer bag to get my heart started, Then I'm watching these guys, and he would pour theirs in an old-fashioned glass or a regular tall glass so they wouldn't spill it so they could get it up. And I'm standing there giving them a lecture. Look what you're doing to yourself, for Christ's sake. Come hell, can't you see what this crap has done to you? What are you, nuts? I mean, God, look at you, guy. And the guy's going like, leave me alone, and he's trying to get the dang thing down, get 3 or 4 so he could go like that, right, And in less than 10 years, before I was even 30, I would be the guy in Las Vegas going like that, trying to get it down, and isn't it amazing that the alcoholic mind has the ability not to give you the picture? You see, I can see what's happening to you. I have no idea what's happening to me, not the slightest. I didn't have the slightest idea that I was in for another 21 years of just absolutely insane trying to change my life and not being able to. The alcoholic mind has the ability. If you come in and take a picture, I'm sitting right in the middle of it. And I tell you something, I've watched my daughter. I know that she can't see the picture, and I don't even try to explain it to her because nobody could explain it to me. I just had to run its course. And I was arrested 11 times while I was in service. A lot of things you can do in the Navy, but you can't miss the boat. I was in Iwakuni, Japan. They had the 2 things I liked. They had to have the houses with the whiskey and the girls in them, and you don't have to talk. Just put your money up and drink and do your thing. And I did too much of both, I guess. And anyway, I woke up and the ship was gone. And they put me on a Air Force crash boat to catch the ship. And I remember coming up, and they said, the old man wants to see you. And I made a plan to stay in service because I knew guys like me would have a little trouble outside. That's all I'm thinking. I'm going to have trouble if I get out. And so I was going to make a career of the Navy. And they took all my stripes. So I told them what they could do with the Navy. The day I got out of the Navy, they gave me a bunch of mustering out money, so I called my mom and dad and said, I'm coming home to Florida, but you can't put money in my pocket and expect me to arrive someplace when I tell you I'm going to be there, And I did arrive in Florida 46 days later. through a place called Chester, Illinois, and don't ask me why I went there. And and that's my life. I just pick up a drink and I'm long gone. And I never tried to quit. I got burnt out in Florida. I got a good job at General Electric, and if you miss 5 days with them, they fire you. I missed 28. They wouldn't fire me, so I just quit. 9 to 5 didn't thrill me. I was just like nothing. Every time I'd get something, it seemed like that was it. And after I got it, that ain't it. Then I get something else, and she's it, and get her, that ain't it. And I get a job, and that ain't it. And I went to work on a commercial fishing boat. I thought, dang, this is it. They're all drunks. And I said, man, I can handle this. And they were. That's what they were. They were drunks. They weren't alcoholics. They fired me. They kept all the drunks and fired me. I come to work, want to tell them how to run the fish company. I don't guess they appreciate it, And went in one time and I told my mom, I said, my mother loved me. I was her firstborn. She loved me more than anything in the world. And I told my mom, I said, I'm going to Las Vegas. And she says, we'll help you pack. I'm about 27 or 28. And she said, we don't know what to do for you. And I'm thinking a couple hundred would help. And showed up in Las Vegas, and I wound up very short time getting a job at $1 an hour. Let me tell you about my brothers. I just got back from North Carolina last Saturday. My brother has a home on Carolina Beach, on Kern Beach, a 3-story on the beach. You sit on the porch, and there's the water. He just retired from Shipling Chemicals. I don't know how much money they gave him, but it's a ton. My other brother owns his own company. It's a small company now, but at one time it wasn't. And my other brother put the airports in for the government. And at the age of 17, I'm standing in front of my first judge because I'm an alcoholic and they're not. And I wound up on Fremont Street and did everything in my carnation box, walking down Fremont Street. I lived at the Sixth and Carson Hotel. If you ever go there, go look at it. I drive by it all the time, remind myself where I used to live. And when I say I was homeless, I'm not homeless all the time. I would get a cheap motel for a while, or I would sleep on somebody's couch for a while. But I spent a bigger part of 2 years. Got a job at a shield. That's the guy that starts a game making $1 an hour, and thought I made a score. And guys, when I went to work for them, they always liked me. When you first met me, you liked me. I don't know what that was. After you knew me for a week or two, you wasn't sure. And after 2 weeks or more, you just couldn't stand me because I would use and abuse you. And I don't mean to do that. And everybody took it personal. It's not personal. I used to tell my mom, it's not personal, And, all the other boys would pay the rent. They charged my mother, they paid my mom $15, so that's room, food, and everything. And I'd be borrowing it every week. I borrowed it. And she was so easy. It was always like, honey, you need to straighten out. And all the time she's reaching for a purse, and I like to tell you I felt bad doing that, but I didn't. I needed it. I had to have it. It ain't like I'm feeling bad. I mean, it's nothing personal. God, everybody takes it personal, and they're like, you owe me money. Oh, sure, I owe everybody, And I wound up on the street, and I met this lady, and she was my Eskimo, and she still is. It's my ex-wife. Bob and all these guys know that I've been divorced almost 20 years. I mow the yard. There's nothing that she wants that I don't do. Nothing. She's allowed anything she wants because she was the one that, for the first time in my life, this is the second phase of alcoholism. I made up my mind, wound up at the little Church of the West. I don't know how it happened, but I wound up married. She had 4 things I needed. She had an apartment and a car and a couple more things. And beautiful cocktail waitress, and I fell in love with her after I married her. Not when I married her. I just wound up married. And that happens in Vegas. I woke up and there she is. And I started straightening out, first time in my life, I tried to start getting my life together. And I went into a hospital down in Santa Barbara. Sarah Hotel put me in. I don't remember how many days I was in the hospital, but the doctor sitting on the side of my bed telling me if I drank any more, I was going to die. My liver is swollen up and everything is starting to quit on me. I'm the kind of guy, once I start drinking, I don't eat. And just everything started quitting. And so I came back from Las Vegas, and I did exactly what I said I'd do. I'm on my way back. I said, okay, enough's enough. And I always thought I was unique until I've been reading the book lately. I don't know, and I've studied the book now more than I did the first 10 years I was in AA. And there's a lot of good stories in there about Jim, the car salesman, the guy with 25 years. He did really good in business. He even said he was happy. But he didn't drink nothing for 25 years, and I didn't drink for 7 years. I'm a little bit wound. I think I'm more like Jim. Jim said he was a little bit irritable because he was working for a company he used to own. That would sort of piss me off, But the day he picked up that drink, I got to remember that. He had a sandwich and a glass of milk, and he's not even thinking about drinking. He's just having a sandwich and a glass of milk. He's in to sell a car. And because he knows he can sell a car there. He's not thinking about drinking or nothing. And this is the thing about alcoholism I can never understand and then all of a sudden with the second sandwich and a glass of milk, just putting a shot on a full stomach. Well, that makes sense, right? But he doesn't realize, and I don't realize, that I have an allergy. And once I pick up the drink, I must have another drink. In less than no time, he's back in the asylum again. But the other guy, he hadn't had a drink for 25 years. And it's not like when he left off. When he left off, he had a little shakes in the morning. When he started drinking this time, in less than 2 months, he's back in the hospital. In less than 4 years, he was dead. And I got to remember that morning that I went out. Because that morning I went out, I was sober 7 years. Some people say 8, some say 6, so I say 7, I'm not sure. But I was sober quite a while on my own. I didn't drink. I did some heavy chemicals. Well, the book talks about heavy sentences. I did a few. Some spondylitis, I looked them up. It was to stop extreme alcoholics from shaking, and I worked good. I had a 7-year-old daughter. The morning I took a drink, I had a little truck and a little boat. I was in the bedroom. They liked me at the Sahara. Not that good, but they sort of tolerated me at the Sahara. Not really liked me. That's not the right word. Just sort of tolerated me. And went out to play golf one morning. I was playing in a tournament, and I was in third place. At the time, it was like $4,000 in the sixes. That's a lot of money. Sevens, that's a lot of money, and especially for a working guy. And I was playing with the Mantle boys, Mickey's two brothers, and another guy, and one of them offered me a drink. And 2 minutes before I picked up that drink, I didn't know I was going to pick it up. Because I hear people say, I'm all there. I wasn't well tight or nothing. I'm playing golf. I'm having a good time. And 2 minutes before I picked up that drink, I didn't know I was going to pick it up. The book says that people like we will have no mental defense against the first drink. And if we're really honest, we don't have the slightest idea, and I don't have the slightest idea what I picked up. I know one thing, my mind didn't say, hold it up, Luke. Hold it just a second here. Let's run over your past. You know what I mean? Doctor says if you drink anymore, you're going to die. You're on Fremont Street walking up down. Alcohol's done everything to you. It's destroyed you. You're not allowed on your brother's property. Nobody wants anything to do with you. My mind didn't say that. I think it said maybe you'll putt better. I don't know what it said. If I'm honest with you, I don't have any idea what it said. All I know, I said, give me one. You know, in less than 2 weeks, I'm a falling down drunk, and 14 months later, I tried to do something that I never, ever thought I'd do. I tried to commit suicide. And I am not that type, dude. Let me tell you, I'll shoot you. You know. But I am not that type, and I tell you something, I was exactly what Bob talked about. I was at the jumping off place. I couldn't live without it, because I know it's not doing for me when I was at that bootlegger's house. And I can't quit now, and I know I can't. And I tell you something, the book doesn't use the word suicide. It says you will wish for the end. Silkworth says we will make the extreme sacrifice rather than continue to fight. And I heard a guy say it, and it describes me good. And the only reason I use things people say only if I identify with it. And my good friend Don P. says, had a mind that won't work and a body that won't die. Let me tell you something, boy, that's a hell of a place to be in. And I had no idea in less than 10 days I would be in Alcoholics Anonymous. So if you're new here, I'm going to blow a theory out that's said in these rooms a lot. I heard a guy say, if you're not in these rooms for yourself, you can't stay here. That's bull. I don't care if you fell through the roof. I don't care how you got here into Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're lucky enough and you're alcoholic to be sitting in the rooms of Alcoholics Anonymous, you're the most luckiest human being in the world. Absolutely. I'd give anything if that little girl of mine would just show up. And she has showed up, you know. But she drinks in detox. I just love her. People say, guy said, she drank in detox? I said, I don't know about you, dude. That's what alcoholics do. Put them anywhere, they'll drink, you know. And 10 days later, 2 weeks later, I was They had the 1975 roundup of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I still remember a lot of the speakers. Tom O'Sullivan, who passed away, and Father Hillary, who passed away, and Johnny Harris, and all of them. And I'd like to tell you that I heard everything everybody said that weekend, and I'd be lying to you. But I'll tell you something. I don't know what happened, but this is what happened. I didn't go to a meeting on Monday, and on Tuesday I looked at my wife, and I said, I'm going to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting. And I've been coming ever since. I showed up. This is how I showed up. I like to tell you how I showed up, because I love the people that say they do it good. See, I had this little gal, and I'm trying to get her off my back. I think if I go to A for a while, it'll be pretty cool. So I showed up at the old Lana Club down across from Jerry's Nuggets, where it was. My name is Bill. And that's okay when you first get there, but I started going to 2 or 3 meetings a day and doing the same thing. My name is Bill. And after about 2 weeks, they started staring, like, today he's going to say it. Now I know what they want, right? Screw you, right? I'm sitting in the back of the room. Come on back. We'll talk about it. I don't have the slightest problem with it, dude. You know, and I raised my hand right before my month was up and said, my name is Bill, and I'm an alcoholic. I could have said also, I'm a brain surgeon. I'm also an astronaut. Because that's what you want to hear. I'm a street guy. So that's what you want to hear, I'll tell you. I didn't a bit more mean it than nothing. You know why? Because I didn't have any idea what I was talking about. Probably the first time in my life I've ever been honest. I'm Bill. Right? How about Bill all screwed up? Oh, yeah. How about Bill hated by everybody, neighbors and everything? Oh, yeah. How about Bill can't get on his brother's property? Oh, yeah, I'm that. How about Bill alcoholic? No. No, not alcoholic. Why not? That's the only time I feel good, when I'm drunk. I don't feel good now. You hear people come in here and say, I got so... You know, they wouldn't say that, but this is what I heard. Come into Alcoholics Anonymous, I got to quit drinking, and I feel wonderful, you know. I come in here, and about 3 days, I went from suicide to homicide. I didn't want to hurt me. I wanted to kill every son of a gun I seen. And, you know, I don't remember the guy, but Big Jim was his name, and he was sitting behind the desk, and he said something, then I said something, then he said something. I said, listen, dude, get out of the chair. Come on out, son. I'll change the way you live, you know. And he started getting up, and they called him Big Jim for a reason, because he got up forever, you know, and I thought, gee, I ain't no better at this sober than I am drunk, you know. And you know what happened was Jim had great sobriety. Thank God for people like him. He got up, started screaming at them guys, get this idiot a cup of coffee. He's trying to get somebody to run him out of here, and it ain't going to be me. He needs to be here. I'm thinking, why do I need to be here? I don't even like it here. I don't even like you, you know. And so if you knew, what happened was, I know now through God's grace, when I came out of the hospital, I tried to quit drinking. Now I can look back and see where I was really trying to quit drinking. If you're new here, the only requirement to be here is the desire to stop drinking. That's it. That's the only requirement to be here. Start finding somebody and doing like I did. You know, I just got with the right people, and they would like drag me along. Catfish John was the first one. He'd bring me over to his house, and I had me fixing the fence and doing this and doing that and cleaning the boat, and then Don, and then Billy, and then they were just like, one day they knocked on my door, and I opened the door, and there they were. And I said, what do you want? They said, you got some coffee? I said, sure, don't you? Jesus, you know. And English yelled, let them in, you know, and come on in. How you doing? I'm doing great, Jesus, you know. Like I want to kill everybody, but other than that, I'm okay, you know. And over at John's house one day, and he said, you coming over this weekend? I said, no, I can't. Inga wants me to do some painting. John was a professional painter. That's what he did. And he said, well, then I'll come over and help you. And I said, that's okay, John. I'll do it myself. And John screamed at me. He goes, you selfish. All kinds of nice words he called me. Then he says, you know, don't you feel good when you come over here and help me? I said, yeah. He said, then why don't you be nice enough to let me feel good? This is what I do. I said, hell, John, come over and paint the whole house. I don't care. So that's what we wind up doing, painting the whole house, you know. And they called him Catfish John, and he wanted to go fishing. And he was telling Inga, he said, you know, I bet $1 on the first, $1 on the biggest, and $1 on the most. And when I get back, I'll have $3. If you're a newcomer, don't go get in a boat and stay all night with an old-timer. Don't do it. You're in a 14-foot boat, and you get a 36-hour AA meeting.
All they want to talk about is AA this, and A and A, and A and A. And, you know, I wanted to use him for an anchor after about an hour, you know. We got there, and he took a little worm and caught a fish right away. He said, that cost you $1. Well, I can tell you, when the trip was over, he paid me $1. And he come back and told him and said, God, that guy can fish. He said, I could have told you that, you know, about his... But I'd never been fishing sober. I didn't know you could do it, you know. And what happened was I had a boat, and he said, you've been taking the boat to the lake. I said, no. He said, well, it'll run sober. I said, well, I've never been on it sober. So I took it out. He said, you're going to run the motor. So I took it out, and I brought it back, and I said, I took the boat to the lake. He said, how many fish you catch? I said, oh, I didn't take my poles. And he says, well, come on, we'll go fishing. And so you people even had showed me how to fish sober, you know. And what happened was after about a little over a year, I had a year, I didn't take a cake. I wasn't doing the thing. I didn't have a sponsor. I was just hanging out like thousands of people in AA, going through the rooms on the way to the graveyard because I wasn't doing a deal. I was going to 2 or 3 meetings a day, and that's all I was probably capable of doing. And come out of the Triangle Club one day, and I knew I was going to never make it home. And I turned around, there was an old guy behind me named Ted Davis, and that was 28 years ago, 27 years ago, and he's still my sponsor today. And I said, will you please be my sponsor? And before he could say anything, I said the most stupidest thing I've ever said in my life. I said, well, I'll do anything you tell me. I was so afraid he was going to say no. Let me tell you something, guys, and Bobby talks about it a lot, and I love it when he talks about it. The gift of desperation is the greatest gift God's ever given an alcoholic. I was so desperate. I was so afraid he was going to say no. And I knew if he said no, I was a dead man. I'd seen enough guys, you know, and as soon as he got, you know, he said, okay, be over my house at 1:30 this afternoon. I said, well, I wasn't talking about today, you know, and he said, didn't you just tell me that you were, I said, I'll be over. And he's 80 years old. He's got 42 years of sobriety. And he said, I want you to go on the 12-step list. And I said, listen, Ted, I'm not a real alcoholic, not what the book talks about. He says, tell them that. They'll like that. I said, you don't understand, Ted. I said, I am so angry. I'm just so tied up that I'm going to kill people. He said, tell them that. He said, Billy, just don't be nothing you're not, buddy. He said, get them in the van, get them to the meetings, and turn them over to us. So I started picking you guys up. And you know what you guys want to do when I pick you up? I want to start telling me about your drinking. Here you go. I can pick up a drink and I can't control it. I'm going, pfft. So, you know, and then I try to quit and I can't quit. Then they say that's stupid crap, right? I know I'm alcoholic. I'm thinking, I'm not, but I sound a lot like him. And I finally picked up enough of you jerks that you finally convinced me that whatever you got, I got, you know. And, so if I got what you got, I started picking out some guys that I wanted what they had. My sponsor, he'll tell you, had a $250,000 house, new Lincoln Continental, and a 40-foot boat out front. And I thought, yep, that'll work, you know. So he became my sponsor, and I'd like to tell you I did a 4-step right away, and that would be a lie. But let me tell you about the second step. Second step, a good friend Sandy talks about it, find a spiritual way of life or go on to the bitter end. See, what I like to tell you is my spiritual light is out, because when I want to quit, I can't. When I pick up a drink, I can't control it, and I call it my spiritual light. My spiritual light was dead. The steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous is designed to do one thing only, to turn the spiritual light on so I don't pick up the first drink. You hear people say I'm powerless over people, places, and things. The book's talking, I am powerless over alcohol. I am powerless over that first drink. Without some kind of a power, people like me, it's not if I'm going to drink again, it's just when I'm going to drink again. People like me, we drink. You hear that? We don't drink no matter what? Well, I drink no matter what. So the steps are designed, it's a process that I got to start putting in my life. And in step 2, in the 12 of 12, it says this is piecemeal, which we will get a little piece of this for the rest of our life. Find a spiritual way of life, going to the bitter end. Too bad there's not a door 3, right? Find her, get a better job. You know, spiritual way of life, and that's what the steps do. Turn my will and my life over to care of somebody that I know if he ever gets a hold of me is going to have a bonfire. That's tough. Step 3, it says if you was raised religious like me, you will have more problems than the person who has never been involved in religions. I knew that there was a God, And I knew people like me. It broke every rule he'd ever put down. And no matter how good I did AA, I knew that when I died, I was going to burn in hell. I just knew that. And I'll tell you something, I can stand before you right now from the bottom of my heart and tell you I don't believe like that no more. I don't believe like that. I have a very loving God in my life. And I'll tell you something, I love the lamplighter, where you can see where the lamplighter's been. I don't know if you've ever heard that story or not, but there's a lamplighter in England, and you can see where he goes and lights the lamps at night. You can see where he's been, everywhere he's been, but you can't see where he's going. And I can look back over my life at all the different things that's happened, and I can see where God's been in my life. And that's what I have to do. I have to look back and see where little bitty things happened. When I was about 9 months sober, I went into the old beer bar where I used to drink all the time. And I'm on my way to an AA meeting. I ran in and went up there, and I ordered a drink. And I told Bill, I should give me a drink. And it was the only bartender in Las Vegas who knew I wasn't drinking. And all he said was, Billy, I thought you was off this crap. And I started shaking. I said, Bill, geez, I'm on the way to an AA meeting. I want a pack of cigarettes. And then I went to an AA meeting, and I tell them guys, you won't believe what happened. The guy says, I believe you. I said, what the hell are you talking about? He said, Billy, you got an alcoholic mind. I said, what the hell you mean? He said, let me ask you a question. When did you ever go into the beer bar and order cigarettes first? What did you do the first thing you went in that beer bar? I said, ordered a drink. He said, well, your mind was just doing what it always did. I said, am I that fragile? He says, oh, yeah, you really are. And I thought, wow. He said, isn't it a good thing that God let you go into that bar instead of that? I said, that God didn't have nothing to do with it. Billy was the bartender, you know. And he says, oh, Jesus. What if you'd have walked in some other place? And I can see now that he was exactly right. And I got story after story. You know, in October, I used to wouldn't take any kind of speaking engagement or anything, because now for the people who are animal activists, you can cut this part out of the tape if you buy it. But I love to hunt and fish, and I don't do that. In October, I always go hunting. The guy called me up and said, we got a sponsorship thing that, don't forget, you're doing Saturday. And I said, when is that? He said, October the 1st. I said, I don't do things in October. When did I make this commitment? He said, a long time ago. He said, we'll get somebody else. I said, no, if I made that commitment, then I'll take it. So I go down to October the 1st to do that, and Valerie comes up and tells me that, don't forget, tomorrow they're having Dick T's. So I'm thinking, I'll do the sponsorship Saturday, and I'll leave early Sunday morning. So the chief comes up and said, don't forget Dick T's 35th birthday is tomorrow, and so come in, they want you to chair the meeting. I said, geez, why can't he have his birthday in August or some other time? Why's he got to have it in October, you know? I said, all right, I'll be there. I said, Christ. So I said, all right, I'll go to that thing, and then I'll leave Sunday afternoon. I got my truck all packed, and I go to that thing, and one of them idiots I sponsor come up to me and says, you know, I'm really, really in bad space, and I need to spend some time with you, and I'm going, good God Almighty, what's going on? But see, God has a plan, and I don't know it, right? So I said, all right. So I started talking to him. He was a lot sicker than I thought. He used a magic word that gets my attention. He used suicide. And I said, all right, come over, and Monday morning we'll spend some time together, and I'll leave Monday afternoon. And he was sicker than I thought, and I hung out with him all day Monday, and so I said, well, I'll just go to bed real early, and I'll get up Tuesday, and I'll leave. And about 10 o'clock that night, my phone rang, and it was my daughter. She'd fell and busted the side of her face, and all kinds of things had happened. See, if I'd have had my way, I would have been gone on Saturday. If I'd have had my way, I'd have been gone on Sunday. But because I've always made myself available in Alcoholics Anonymous, I'm on the 12-step list, and a lot of people have my phone number, and people know I'm in AA. God always has a chance to get a hold of me. So if you're new here tonight, make sure that enough people got your number. When things start happening in your life, that God can get a hold of you. Guys like Bobby and I and Rick and all these guys that go do all this thing, we stay right in the middle of the herd, and that way God can always get a hold of us. She said, I'm in really bad shape. She said, Bobby and I and Rick and all these guys that go do all this thing, we stay right in the middle of the herd, and that way God can always get a hold of us. She said, I'm in really bad shape. She says, I need AA. I said, no shit. You no kidding, I know that. She says, I said, but Debbie, I can't help you, but I know some people that can. And They went and picked her up, and then they said, we're not sure that you'd want to see her. I said, look, I've seen it before, so it ain't going to bother me. But it was really worse than what I thought, and we got her. And so they talked her in going down to ABC, down in Indigo, and she didn't even stay sober in that detox. And I finally got her down there. She said, if you'll drive me, I'll go down and I'll stay. And I drove her down on Friday. I went hunting on Saturday, chased some birds, and went back to work on Sunday. But I can look back and see where God was right in my life. It's always been like that. My ex-wife and my brothers would not allow me back in their house after I got sober. I told my sponsor, when I did my fourth step and the fifth, and halfway through my fifth step, I'm telling my sponsor, I said, I can't believe I'm telling you all this stuff. And he says, don't you understand why? And I said, no, I don't. He said, it's because you trust me. And I thought, that's true, I do. I sat in that room for 3.5 hours, and I told him things that I wouldn't tell anybody. And I came out of there, and I'm one of those people that's fortunate enough. He told me to go out to the park and be by myself and think about just what we did and think about my dad. I didn't get a chance to make amends to my dad. I did with my mom. I was 17 years sober when my mom died. But he said, I remember you telling me that your father said he would like you if you wouldn't your son. Just remember that your father liked you. It was so important that I did that fourth and fifth step with my sponsor. I come out of there, I went in that park, and I cried, and I thought about all the things that had gone in my life, and I actually felt like maybe, just maybe I can do this still. Just maybe. Just maybe a guy as stupid as me can do this deal. I remember my sponsor telling me, these people come in here with low self-esteem, and you don't have any. If I went over to your house and you were serving steak and lobster and hot dog, I would take the hot dog. And I said, why don't you have one of these? And I'd make up some kind of excuse like I'm allergic to it or something, because I just didn't feel like I was worthy of it. Everybody else was worthy of it. I just couldn't no longer do it. And he said, I want you to start putting your shopping cart back. I said, what's that got to do with anything? What's that got to do with it? He says, it's got a big sign that says, put cart here. You know what I mean? So I looked, this says, please put cart here. So I'm putting the thing back one day, and one of them kids are running around and says, gee, mister, I wish everybody did that. And when I walked away, you know what happened? I felt good inside. I thought, wow, don't throw stuff out of your truck. When I leave the bathroom, I wash my hands. You know what I'm saying? I'm always trying to think about what the other people. You know, if I shake your hand, I don't feel the least bit because I know I just washed them. And things like that. I'm always thinking. I got people in Las Vegas that push carts that I look for. I try to be the good Samaritan every day. There's one lady that I've been, I know she looks like she's 70. She's probably in her 30s, and she's got no teeth and nothing. And I got people that I just look for, and when I do something, I don't go tell nobody, And one story I've told at the podium, so I'll tell it again. I'm going to the lake one day. I'm going fishing. We were killing these fish, and I can't wait to get there. And I passed this little nun. She's pulled over on the side of the road, but them fish are really biting, so I figured I'd just leave her standing there. And as I'm driving the truck, I'm looking back in the mirror, and she's like, out in the middle of the desert, there ain't nothing close, and shit. So I put the brakes down and stopped the brakes and went back, and here she was. She says, there's a big thump in my car. And so I thought, thump? So I'm not a mechanic. I raised the hood. Everything looked good. I said, here, let me drive it. And so I just drove it like from here to there, and the tire was coming apart, and I got a knife and cut it. And I said, where are you trying to get to? And she says, Boulder City. I thought, well, that's 2 hours of no fishing. I thought, okay. You drive real slow and I'll follow you. And I spent the whole morning with that little lady. She wanted to show me everything and everything. I'll tell you something. The more I talked to her, the more I enjoyed talking to her. And it was just like, I thought, wow. And I left there just really like feeling, maybe God will keep using me. Just maybe. The steps in the 12 of 12, it says that will make us happy, useful, and whole. And Bobby was talking about it. And I need to feel useful. I really need. I don't know if I'll ever feel whole. The book talks about there will come a time that we'll feel safe. And I can honestly tell you from the bottom of my heart, I don't feel safe. But I feel like if I keep doing what I'm doing, I might make it to the end. But I've never felt safe like I've heard people from the podium like I just know everything. I've always felt like I just got to keep struggling. I do the jails, the prisons, the vet center, I'm all the time. I got so many commitments there. I sponsor a lot of people. I did a big book study for like 6 or 7 years in a row, and they cut the place down, and everybody's been trying to get me to start it again. But I just stay right in the middle of the herd. You ever watch the Animal Channel? You ever watch The Predators? They never run into the middle of the herd to get nothing. You see that? They go on the outside. And you can get outside the herd from here. This is dangerous for a lot of people, this podium. You can get outside the herd, but not by turning down commitments. You can get outside the herd, but not going to meetings. You can get outside the herd by not wanting to help people. You can get outside the herd, but not sponsoring people. You can get outside the herd by helping someone that's not even in AA. When you know you can help them, and you don't take the ability to do it. Just turn your head like they'll go away, And I believe my God's watching me, So I don't know where you are or not, but I know my God is. And so I try to be in my God's image. And that's what Step 6 talks about. Step 6 is, in 12 of 12, talks about being in God's image. Well, what kind of God do I have? He's very generous. He's certainly patient. He's certainly very tolerant. And he certainly forgives a lot, So I try to be in that image, Man, 10 years sober, my brothers come to me and said, we never told you how proud we were of you. I said, it took you 10 years to tell me that? They said, Billy, you drink. I said, that's right. That's what I do, buddy. I said, but maybe. At 18 years, they sat in my home, and they talked about all my drunkalogs and all the things I did and all the crazy crap, and they all laughed. And what happened was we were even. At 25 years sober, 3 years ago, my brother wrote me a letter and said I was the greatest brother anyone could ever have. That's because I stay in the middle of the herd. And when you stay in the middle of the herd, you see, when my daughter, I live in AA with a heavy heart. Believe me, I do. My daughter came home one time. She was just absolutely must have weighed about 80 pounds. I always used to tell everybody, it's not that bad. How you doing, Billy? It's not that bad. And she come home and she says, she'd been living in the street for quite a while, and she says, haven't had a shower in a few days. Can I come in and take a shower? And I said, yeah, come on in. I said, but you can't stay here. She said, Dad, I know that. And she looked like a pale ghost. And I said, when's the last time you eaten? She said, I don't remember. I said, well, there's plenty of food in the refrigerator. Go ahead. And she came back out, and she ate about 4 times in 5 hours. And I looked at her, and I said, Debbie, I've never seen you look that bad. She says, I'm living in the back of a pickup. We got a mattress in there now, and it's not that bad. I thought, that's right, honey. The mattress makes a difference. She says, yeah, Dad's sleeping on that. I thought, here's a beautiful home that you could be living in, but drugs and alcohol are more important, and you're sleeping in the back of a pickup so you can do what you got to do, and that's the disease of alcoholism. My daughter makes straight A's without trying. And if I stay in the middle of this herd, there's a thing on the Animal Channel I've seen, and this is one of my favorite things. I don't watch TV much. Anything with NASCAR I'll watch. And well, I'm a redneck. What do you want? Some guys play baskets and stuff. We go around in circles, And, I got 6 tickets to the Las Vegas thing. I went out. I was 60-some years old. We had 38 guys out there driving IB Petty thing. I was the oldest guy out there, and I had the fastest lap. The guy got out and said, you had a good time, didn't you? I said, no, I had a great time. I've done all them things that I said. I used to sit on the bar and tell everybody I did, But I was watching the Animal Channel one day, and it showed this little elephant. It reminded me so much of a newcomer coming in AA. And this little elephant, when he was born, his elbows didn't work, and he had to walk on his elbows, and he couldn't walk on his feet. And so when an animal's born like it goes lays down in the corner, and it dies because it can't make it with a herd. And the mother of that elephant went and got all her sisters and stuff. I didn't know elephants lived to be that long, but some of them lived to be 100 years old. And they went and got all the other elephants, and every time the little guy would go lay down, they would take the trunk, and they would pick it up, and they would make it walk. When I come to AA, I try to stay away from you guys. You guys showed up, and you made it. I went through a divorce, and you guys were all there. My sponsor said, you stay close to him. You come and put your trunk around me, and you held me up, and I'd walk through it. And every time I watched this whole thing, and every time this little guy would go to lay down, here they'd come. They'd take that trunk, and they'd pick him up, and it just didn't walk very good, but it would walk. And sometimes we don't walk good. We just show the meetings and just do the very best we can to get through what we're going through. And then sooner or later, the light opens up, and we're back there. At the end of the program, the little elephant was just running along with the rest of them. You know what I mean? Maybe it worked the steps. I don't know what he did. But he's just running along, and he was just doing the deal. And I tell you something, it ain't that we do it good. I don't do AA good. There's a lot of people in AA. And I don't want to talk good because it's too hard to walk it. If they talk good, then you got to walk good. But what I try to do is I try to do a lot of it. I stay in the middle of Alcoholics Anonymous. Here's the circle, and I'm in the middle. I go out and go fishing. I come back to AA. I don't live out there and run to AA. I live in Alcoholics Anonymous, and I go out there. I still criticize too much. I still talk about people too much. It bothers me when I do it. I still do it. I wished I didn't. But step 12 is trying to be the Good Samaritan every day. I wake up every morning and I ask God, please, to put somebody in my life that I can be used to. And I said, whatever I do, don't go down to Paramount. Try to act like you're a speaker or something. I said, God, please show up and just let me do the best I can and let them see somebody that you have touched the best you can. And I'll tell you something. I live in AA, and I do have a heavy heart. And I got some more things going on in my life. But I tell you, I love Alcoholics Anonymous. I want to thank Bob and all my friends for coming down that I know have heard me so many times, but I really appreciate it. And Michael, Maureen, thanks for having me again. I love this group. This is a great group. And Bobby, Rick, thanks for coming. I love you a lot. Thanks. That's it.